This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some major update to share with you. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell made some big announcements about how to tackle inflation, raising interest rates. I'll give you the Republican perspective as well. Also, with the rates raising, what are the chances of another stimulus check? I'll go over that article, as well as $300 going to residents in one state by May 31st. Another state is offering a child tax credit, part of their budget. Also, I'll let you know what Bernie Sanders says about corporate welfare, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So big news here. Jerome Powell wants to get rates closer to neutral, but what's neutral? Think between 5% and 6%, former top Fed staffer says. So he made a big announcement yesterday. This affected the markets. It affects everything in the future coming up. Take a look at this video clip right here explaining more of what Jerome Powell said.
We've got some breaking news, too, that we're following on the economy. Let's take a look at the big board and how the markets are doing after the Fed announced in just the last hour it's going to raise interest rates by 0.5%. Let me just put this another way. It's the biggest rate hike from the Fed in more than 20 years. Right now, I think we can pull it up. You got Fed Chair Jerome Powell. This is a live shot here, I think, talking about the decision right now. He's taking questions from reporters. He's saying the whole point of this, the whole reason for this, is to try to get inflation, soaring prices that you've probably felt, is to try to get that under control. Watch.
Inflation is much too high, and we understand the hardship it is causing, and we're moving expeditiously to bring it back down. We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses.
So this move to raise interest rates is probably going to mean higher interest rates for you on stuff like credit cards, mortgages, car loans, maybe some savings accounts, too, depending on the specific type. You see them on the graphic there. If you already have a mortgage, it's a fixed rate mortgage. Your rate's probably not going to go up. Same thing for car loans that already exist and federal student loans that you already have. Let me bring in NBC News business and tech correspondent Joel and Ken. So much of this show sometimes when the Fed chair talks, it's about interpreting his tone and the way he's saying things and the exact word language that he's using. So help be our Jay Powell interpreter, if you will. What's the sense of what happens next?
Hallie, I can tell you today actions speak louder than words because so much of this was built into what we expected. Fed Chair Powell signaling over the last month what he was going to do, and unanimously the Federal Reserve voted to do it, to raise those interest rates by 0.5 point. Now, looking ahead, and that's really where the key components of this inflation situation are, we do expect more 0.5 point increases in the next few months, over the next few hikes. He's taken off the table in the press conference the idea of a 0.75 point hike, saying that that might be a little bit too much and could then trigger some of these fears that people have about a possible recession. Now, he did acknowledge that raising rates, reducing inflation, and avoiding a recession is going to be very challenging. But what's interesting here is Fed Chair Powell saying that this is a strong economy, and he says nothing suggests it's close to or vulnerable to a recession. But a lot of economists disagree with that at this point. But you can overall expect rates to be at about 2% by the end of July. And the factors here that they're watching: Ukraine, China, supply chain issues, and of course, looking ahead, it will continue to go up. No changes on the future when it comes to raising rates through the end of the year and possibly into next year, Hallie.
What are your thoughts on that? So credit card, mortgage, loans, everything's going to go up. Keeping your money in the bank is going to make a little percentage more. Doesn't mean it's going to be life-changing, but what do you think about all this? Higher bills in general if you haven't got any of your credit card or loan payments fixed yet. Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. Next, with the Republican perspective, Karl Rove slams Democrats over lack of plan, no ideas to tackle inflation. Take a look at the Republican perspective on this news and if it will help or not help inflation.
And this issue of inflation is going to be driving them a lot. I was looking inside the Fox poll. Think about this. Do you think inflation is going to last more than a year? 45% of the people in the Fox poll said that. What was interesting is it was 45% in April. It was also 45% in January. So the deeper we get into this, we're not feeling like, oh, boy, it's going to get a lot better soon. We're thinking, oh, I'm hoping it's over in a year. Serious hardship on your family. Groceries, 44%. gas 44%. Think about that. Nearly 1 out of every 2 Americans says the price of groceries and gas is a serious problem for their family, and the family's financial position, better 18%, worse 44%, about the same 38%. So you're right. And these numbers, the independents look more like the Republicans than they do Democrats, and that's a bad sign for the Democrats in the midterm.
And Carl, today we got another sign about inflation, that the Fed is not going to be Paul Volcker-like in trying to attack it. I mean, it was a half point. It was the biggest rise in a while of interest rates, but the message from Mr. Powell, the head of the Fed, was that he's going to try for a soft landing, which means he's not going to be as tough against inflation as he needs to be to lick it. And that means that inflation is going to be there front and center come November.
Absolutely. In fact, not only is it going to be front and center in November, we're likely to see a repeat, not a repeat of 82 when the Republicans took the medicine and by 84 we're in good shape. This means the problem's going to linger. If the Fed is not going to take tough action to clamp down on inflation now, this is going to linger on into 2023 and affect 2024 as well.
So with the news about rates going up, maybe inflation going down, how is this going to affect you? Is there going to be another chance for a stimulus check? Let's go over this article right here. So the Federal Reserve raised interest rates. How does this affect the chances of another stimulus check? So the Federal Reserve raised interest rates by 0.5 percentage point on May 4th. Yesterday, the central bank was motivated to do this to curb rising inflation. Although the Fed operates independently, this decision still sheds light on the likelihood of another stimulus check. So could there be another stimulus check? We've seen over the past year a lot of calls for stimulus check, different stimulus proposals, but nothing has been acted on yet. Doesn't seem like we're going to have another COVID lockdown. Inflation is going up, but if it goes back down, probably not going to have another federal stimulus check. If gas prices remain high and keep going higher, we could potentially see a gas stimulus check, although any federal general stimulus check is going to be hard to pass in Congress because of Republican opposition, but also because Democrats can't even seem to get their own party united around any type of bill, let alone a stimulus reconciliation bill. So in terms of a federal stimulus check, not seeming likely anytime soon, but we're seeing a ton of state stimulus checks coming up every week. So residents in this state can expect $300 direct payments by May 31st. So this is going on in Delaware, and they're going to give $300 direct payments. Checks are planned to go out by May 31st, 2022 to residents who already filed a 2020 state income tax return. So that's going on in Delaware, $300 for singles, married couples get $600. And then another state in Connecticut, they just passed a budget, shower of tax cuts, potential raises for legislators. Republicans say not a bipartisan budget. So there's a ton of stuff that's going on in Connecticut, but one of the things that stood out is that it included a $250 per child tax credit for the first time in Connecticut history that will help struggling families pay for diapers, daycare, and other necessary items. So in Connecticut, if you have any kids, looks like a $250 per child tax credit, which is pretty big deal, especially for one state to give that. That's just a one-time $250 check, and they don't even know if it's going to pass for another year. So I'll keep you updated on any other stimulus provisions, especially with all the states doing their budgets now. We're starting to see a lot of different types of stimulus. Then Bernie Sanders. So Sanders blasts Senate's strange priorities as it advances corporate welfare. So he mentions why there's no child tax credit, as well as a few other issues. Take a look at what Bernie Sanders has to say here.
No one disagrees that we need to manufacture more microchips here in the United States, but we should not be providing a $53 billion blank check to the highly profitable microchip industry with no protections for the American taxpayer. The 5 companies that will likely receive the lion's share of this funding, Intel, Texas Instruments, Samsung, Micron Technology, and Global Foundries, made over $75 billion in profits last year and spent over $18 billion on stock buybacks. Mr. President, we have strange priorities here in the Senate. We can't extend the child tax credit to combat child poverty. We can't deal with the crisis in child care. We can't provide dental care to seniors on Medicare. We can't deal with climate change, but somehow we can provide a massive amount of corporate welfare to a handful of corporations. The motion I'm offering today would instruct the conferees to impose the following conditions on companies receiving this assistance. They must agree to issue warrants or equity stakes to the federal government. If private corporations are going to benefit from $53 billion in taxpayer welfare, the financial gains must be shared with the American people, not just wealthy stockholders. Further, these companies must agree to not buy back their own stock, not outsource American jobs, not repeal existing collective bargaining agreements, and remain neutral in union organizing efforts. Mr. President, what we're talking about here is not a radical idea. These exact conditions, word for word, were included in the bipartisan CARES Act, which passed the Senate 96-0.
Do you agree, disagree? What do you think about what Bernie Sanders has to say? So Bernie Sanders has a lot of proposals, like child tax credit, Medicare for all, dental care for seniors, and a lot of that just seems to be going nowhere just because of a lot of opposition going on in Congress. But what do you think about all that money going to corporations? Is that the right thing to do? Is that going to help out the economy in the future? He also mentioned stock buybacks. If you're not familiar with that, basically if a corporation has a ton of money, let's say they have an extra $1 billion in profit, they could buy their own stock, which raises the price. So for example, let's just say a stock price is at $20. If they pour another $1 billion into it as a stock buyback, basically the price could go from $20 a share up to maybe $23 a share. And everybody who owns that share just made an extra $3 per share. You multiply that by 100 shares, 1,000 shares, that could be thousands of dollars basically going to shareholders, which makes them want to hold the stock more and invest more. So that's kind of how that works. But let me know your thoughts on all of that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Guys, I didn't see you there. Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. So I wanted to tell you something that you should do. Hi guys, what are you doing? Sorry, that's my sister. If you want to do something and you can't find something, you have to do what you want to do and make another something. If you can't do the first one, then go on to the next one, because you have to stay positive and good and have good relationships with some friends. And you should always be good enough. Bye. That's all I wanted to tell you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. So yesterday I had a little pickleball tournament. I was actually playing with 11 different people. We had a round robin where everybody plays each other. So it was pretty cool. I won that one. It was a lot of fun. So I got to play with 11 of my friends just at our local courts, which is pretty cool. Anyways, if you want to check out any of my other videos, you could click up here or down here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.